Welcome to the Crimson Engine. My name is Rubidium. Today we are talking about how to actually make money making films. Because everybody wants to make movies. Everyone wants to make films. It is a wonderful and glamorous and exciting career path, we are led to believe. But nobody tells you how to actually make enough money so that you can do this as a job and not as a hobby. So today we're going to talk about how I've made, coming up on the multiple millions of dollars over 25 years, making movies, making films, making commercials, documentaries, feature films. It is something that not a lot of beginners are good at, but every person who's been doing this longer than 10 years is good at. So either you learn how to do this, or you find another way to support yourself and you make films on the side, which nothing wrong with that. It's a much more pure way of going about things. But if you want your hobby to support you, if you want to refine your skills while someone else pays you, and eventually do this as a successful career, this is what you will need to know. The fundamental truth about making money making films is you can only make money in proportion to how much money you make other people. I'll say that again. So if you want to make $5,000 making a film, that film needs to make someone else $10,000. There is one exception, which I'll go into later. And it's the place where most people start making movies and then get stuck there. But we'll cover that later on. The fundamental way that 99% of filmmakers make money is create something that, be it an advertising, a documentary, a feature film, a TV show, that then produces much more money than they're paid. And so the person who commissioned them is now richer and happy to employ them again. If you get paid $5,000 to make a promotional film, social media campaign, whatever it is for your local coffee shop, they spend the $5,000 and their revenue does not increase whatsoever. It doesn't matter if this coffee shop promotional video earns an Oscar. If it does not increase the sales of the coffee shop, you will not make any money. The coffee shop can't afford to spend money on your salary. It cannot pay you enough in order to keep losing money while paying you. So when you take a step back from that and you realize that your client isn't really the customer, your client isn't really the person who decides whether or not you get paid and work again. Who decides is the people that see the film or the ad or the documentary and then buy more of what the stuff it is that's advertising. If you're making a feature film, for instance, and you are the director, the producer, the cinematographer, the costume designer, the actor, whatever it is, if your movie keeps flopping, if every film you make takes in less money than it costs to make it, eventually you won't work again. You are a negative cost rather than an asset to a film. A lot of people have a hard time getting their head around this because they feel like, if you're a cinematographer, for instance, if I make the film beautiful enough, if I make the film exciting enough, if I make the film compelling enough, I've succeeded and I'll get hired again. That is sometimes true some of the time, but 90% of the time, it really comes down to, did the film you make someone else money, more money than they're paying you? And if you're not able to do that, then your career is, your days are numbered. Now, you might say there are plenty of, directors and cinematographers out there whose films lose money, at the box office. There are a ton of people who, if you look through their filmography, that was a flop, that was a flop, that was a flop. This is the joys of Hollywood accounting. It may have lost money at the box office, but it must have made money on, the third window, on television, on DVD, on streaming, or some other way. Because no business can afford to consistently lose money and still keep trading. That is not how money works. So if you go to jobs with this mindset, you will bring a whole new set of questions rather than, where do we put the, where do we put the camera? Where do we put the lights? You'll start asking, who is this for? What do they like? What other projects or videos have tried to do this and succeeded? And what other video movies have tried to do this and failed? And what are the common elements? It comes down to being in the mind of the person who's watching this film and understanding how you're able to change their behavior. Because if you, going back to the coffee shop example, because every town has coffee shops, every coffee shop would love to have a thing on social media. Every coffee shop would love to promote itself. But if you go in there and pitch them a $5,000 video, the idea that your video would result in $5,000 additional profit for them. So if their profit margin is like 20%, you'll have to sell $25,000 more coffee for your video. That is a bit of a stretch. Whereas you probably want to start with a $500 video. $500 video means that you're only saying, I think my video can sell $2,500 more, product for you, and then it would be worth it. Because often we go in confident of our filmmaking abilities, but not knowing anything about the underlying economics of what it is that we're doing or pitching. And we make more trouble for ourselves than we need to, because when we over pitch, when we try and get a client to agree to something that's going to cost more than probably they can earn from the video, we're doing them a disservice and ourselves a disservice. Because if the film doesn't do what we say it will do, it doesn't pay for itself, we're not getting hired again, and you've burnt that bridge. Whereas if it does, if that $500 video actually looks good and brings in a ton more business for that company, then we are likely to get hired for the $1,000 video, the $2,500 video, the $5,000 video. You see how when you start small and work with your customers, clients to get something that actually functions, you're far more likely to turn that into something that's profitable and successful and ongoing. Back before I taught myself cinematography, I would often hire cinematographers with their camera to shoot projects that I'd got from clients or for myself. And I would look, when I didn't know anyone, I would look on Craigslist. Craigslist in LA is a bit of a scene. There are always a dozen, guys with cameras on there, usually like a Red or a Blackmagic Pocket, and they're anything from $200 a day to $2,000 a day. They all posted their show reels, which, that's what they can post, right? That's the data that they have access to. But as a director, producer hiring a cinematographer, I was trying to really buy a result. I was trying to buy a good-looking commercial that would look as expensive as I was charging the client. So if you're charging me $500 a day plus another $250, $500 for your equipment, I am spending $1,000 from my $3,000 budget in order to get that. And the amount that I can pay is dependent on two things. It's how good the result is going to be, and I hopefully can see that from your show reel and your experience. But then the other factor that a lot of people don't appreciate is how much I trust you to deliver that. So you may have someone who has a great looking show reel, but it shows up late for the first original meeting, and looks like they hasn't slept, smells like weed, any number of things that now start question marks going in my brain about whether or not this person will actually deliver what I'm paying for. So it's not just when you're looking to get hired, when you're looking to get a new client, their big question is, can you, do you have the skills to complete the job that's going to make me money? And if you do have the skills, how likely is it that you're going to actually turn up and do them to the best of your ability? Because there are a lot of talented people out there that have no work ethic whatsoever. They think that their talent will carry them through. When a problem arises, are they going to just fold and freak out and walk away? Or are they going to, have they had all of those problems before? Am I buying the experience of having solved that all? So in the client's mind, it's what is the likelihood that you're actually going to do what you say? So once you understand that your success and failure as a filmmaker and your ability to make money is going to be dependent on how much your clients trust you and how much you're able to make for them, you need to think about how you're going to meet these people. How are you going to find clients? Yes, going into the local coffee shop and pitching them a TV commercial could work, but it certainly has its limits. So there are, every single day, like I used to live in New York City, every single day there are multi-million-dollar projects greenlit, be they in corporate video, advertising, documentary, television, feature films. Those people are using video to make billions of dollars. So they're willing to spend millions of dollars to make those films. How do you connect with those people? Well, there are a couple of tried and true ways to get clients. I have a course on this at Canon Masterclass, but I will run over the basics for you. The first way is to have a job, have a salary job for a agency or some kind of producer that has a lot of clients and is going to put you in touch with a lot of people in your editing, cinematography, directing position. If you at a, like a magazine job like Vice, or is Vice still around? I think they went bankrupt. But when I was there, Vice was a big thing. It was hiring a lot of people. It was doing a lot of work. So if you worked at Vice, you day in, day out would just meet a ton of people, make a ton of connections. A lot of photographers work on staff for a magazine or a newspaper. They end up shooting people every single day. So they're shooting celebrities, authors, whatever. And if you make a positive impression on them, in a couple of years' time, when you decide to go freelance and you've stayed in contact with those people, which over social media is much, much easier, you can reach out to them and say, hey, I've left the X newspaper, X production facility. I'm available for hire now for freelance. If you want to hire me directly, here's my details, here's my rates, here's whatever. So that is one type of network you can plug yourself into just by doing a a day job. You have a guaranteed salary. It won't be anything near what you could make as an independent, but it gets you in the door, which is a great idea if you're moving to a new city, you're just starting out. Volunteering is another epic way to get a lot of connections. If there's honestly a lot of fundraisers, things out there, if you get in touch with them and say, hey, I'm a filmmaker, if you want help, I'm happy to shoot your documentary for free. I'm happy to shoot your things for your website. Lots of charities have connections with big names, with big companies, powerful people, donors. Hospitals are a great one. There's not a hospital in the world, especially in the US or Australia or the UK, that wouldn't love a freelancer to show up with a camera and say, hey, I'm happy to interview, happy to work with you and, interview things for your fundraising, interview doctors, interview whoever for your fundraising and help you generate video for your socials and your website. Social media has created an infinite appetite for video for these institutions. And if you're doing that, you can get into that network. You can get into those fundraisers. Creative Live has a great course by a photographer called Victoria Will, and she worked at the New York Post for a while, but I think one of the great networking things that she did was she got to become the official photographer for Sundance. I'm assuming it was unpaid. And she was able to basically meet everyone in Hollywood and take their photo in this little room in, Park City. And of course, you don't have to give them your card because they'll all want to see the photo that you took of them, some type of old style camera. And it meant that, she suddenly plugged into all of Hollywood, not just the actors, which, gives you this huge authority and clout because you've taken all these people's photograph, but also the producers, the media people, all this stuff, which I think is, invaluable step forward for your career. Another way to get clients is what's called super connectors. A small minority of people, I would say like 2 or 3% of American adults, are what is called super connectors. So they manage and create a massive, massive network. They know everyone and they stay in touch with them. It is just a, very rare but valuable social trait. And if you can find these people, and it's not hard to do because they obviously want to meet everyone. They go to, charities, social events, all manner of things. If you can meet them and help them get what they want, i.e. work for free or for cheap, they will then promote you to the hundreds of people that they're in contact with because they love doing favors. They love helping and connecting people with one another. They're out there. I've met them. I stay in touch with a couple of them. They are really interesting people. The last tip that I'll talk about today is if you're not a people person as a filmmaker, if you would rather dig into the technical side of things or the visual side of things or the artistic side of things, if you really don't think that you can socialize and connect in a way that is going to let you share your skills with the world, seriously consider partnering with someone that is. There are social people who are really good with logistics. They often find work as producers or production assistants or first ADs, these people that just are on the phone all day, maintain large enough networks. They may not be able to do the filmmaking themselves, but if you're a director, cinematographer, it makes sense for you to have a business partner who does the business side and the producer and can get the clients that they need. Years ago, I read the biography of the founder of Honda. And in fact, there are two founders of Honda, Soichiro Honda and Takeo Fujisawa. Honda was the genius engineer, but Fujisawa was the financial genius and logistical genius that like put it all together. He was sort of the Tim Cook of Honda, who was able to hold the whole thing together and capitalize on the genius of Honda the engineer. And eventually he was able to create a culture of excellence at Honda that he hired dozens of other genius engineers like Honda. So as Honda got older and retired, the company was able to grow and grow and grow. And he was really good at raising money, running the company, doing all the non-technical, non-mechanical engineering stuff. So the company is still called Honda. Honda is who we remember. That's the name on the back of the millions of cars they made. But it was actually two people. The reverse is true of Sony. Akio Morita is remembered as the inventor, but he just had the ideas. It was actually another man, Masuro Ibuka, who was the genius who was able to create the Walkman that Akio Morita had the idea for. So a lot of big companies are founded by two people, one with the genius and the ideas, and another with the connections and money and abilities to bring that genius to the world. So if you are the solitary genius, there's probably someone out there waiting to help you bring that into the world that you could partner with. I said at the start of this podcast that I was going to talk about the one instance that most people get trapped in as filmmakers, and that is weddings. When you're making a wedding video, you can charge $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for one and up. But the problem with it is that it's sort of its own weird little industry in that don't make money with the wedding video. You just sort of make a memory for the wedding video. The client isn't monetizing it. And that client, most people usually only get married once. So it's not like you're going to get repeat business. And even if a lot of people have destination weddings, so it's unlikely that they are going to recommend you to other people because they're not actually from where it is you're working. They go back to wherever they live permanently. And generally, while weddings is a good way to learn your craft and make money and buy your gear as a filmmaker, it doesn't help you understand your client's needs monetarily in the same way that, say, shooting ads or corporate video or other feature films do. I'm not saying don't do wedding videos. If you are, they're a great stepping stone to larger things, but understand that having a happy client in the wedding video business is a different game to working with larger companies, brands, this sort of thing. Hopefully that helped somebody out there understand what it is that makes a successful film career, that makes one that can endure, that can thrive, that can stand the test of time. Don't let your dreams and your stories die inside you. Get them out into the world. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.